Hey folks, here are OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a hardware tour of the Dell Precision M4800. It's part of the mobile workstation series for Dell, which is really aimed at professionals and for company usage as opposed to consumer use. But if you are able to pick one of these up for cheap, maybe secondhand through Amazon or eBay, it may be worth checking out. The first thing that you notice though is that this is a very hefty and heavy laptop, again because it's geared for professionals. It's really meant to be plugged in and used at all times. The battery is okay, but again, for transportation, this is not going to be as good as an ultra portable. It is a full-size laptop with a 15.6-inch displays, and in terms of specifications, it's definitely top of the line and also competes with other, professional laptops maybe produced by HP, Lenovo, so on and so forth. So, for instance, we have access to an 8 gigs of built-in DDR3 RAM. There's an AMD GPU here. The screen is 1080p, so 920 by 1080. There's a 2.8 gigahertz Intel Core i7 processor underneath the hood. So really, this is latest gen stuff. You can pick between the 6th gen of the Core i5. Otherwise, for a 15.6-inch laptop, it's again quite large in terms of footprint. At first, I thought this was 17 inches or something like that. It is clad entirely out of aluminum, so it does feel quite hefty and well built. In fact, it's 6.3 pounds, which is again extremely heavy. So taking a quick look at the design next, we have access to a metal shell on the surface, which makes it feel quite sturdy. And there's a latch here which you can open up to reveal the screen. Fairly standard stuff. The left-hand edge features access to 2 USB 2.0 ports. There's a 3.5mm headphone jack and microphone port. There is an optical drive here, which is loading through a sensor which you can actually push in and then push out, so that's pretty cool. There's access to LED lights for power status, battery status, and hard drive reading. There's also a full-size SD card for inserting memory. And on the other side, there's access to an additional port for turning on the wireless features. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are both built in. Access to 2 more USB 2.0 ports, and there's a hard drive expansion port. The other side features a Ethernet port on the very back. There's also a VGA port for a SATA port, and a full-size HDMI port for connecting to an external monitor. Ventilation grills for the fans, because this thing does get quite hot, and the fan noise can definitely be heard during day-to-day operation. There's also a standard Dell charger, and the very back features an optical, or an optional, I would say, docking station for you to pop it onto a dock that Dell sells separately for about $200. Allows you to expand further on a number of USB ports and connect it to a monitor that maybe Dell produces. There's further ventilation grills and rubber feet, which prevents the unit from sliding around on a surface or a desk. So all in all, a pretty well-balanced machine as far as ports, but again, very, very heavy and definitely larger than you would want for portability. So popping this lid open, we have access to some basic info about the laptop. It comes in a few variants as far as operating systems. This version is a Windows 7 Enterprise Edition. Mainly, Windows 7 is still a great choice, I guess, for companies to use, even though Windows 8 and 10 are now out. We have access to, again, that Core i7 processor. The trackpad, a little small by 2015 standards, 2016 standards, about 3 inches diagonally. It does support multi-touch gestures, but it's pretty responsive, but could be a little bit larger. You have access to pretty responsive keys over here and also dubs on the top here. Also, the keyboard here is a full-size layout in addition to a dedicated numpad on the side, so if you want to do quick calculations, this could be quite useful. So really, again, geared at professionals that are working in some kind of industry, maybe for companies. There's also access to a top row for function keys that has a few media controls, but not a lot. There are some shortcuts for making the laptop go to sleep, for volume controls, or screen brightness, but that's basically it, so very minimal here. There's also a soundbar on the top, which offers stereo speakers that are a little bit on the soft side of the spectrum. They are fairly rich sounding, but they aren't the loudest speakers we've heard from a Dell computer. There's also dedicated controls for volume up top, as well as a power on-off switch on the right-hand spine. The hinge here feels incredibly sturdy. As you can see, it's basically one piece extending from the width of the computer, so it's something that's definitely built to last. Otherwise, in terms of the display, again, 15.6 inches with fairly respectable bezel size for a professional laptop. It is a matte screen, so it doesn't glare or reflect as much light under the sun and under brighter environments, which is good. There's also access to a VGA quality webcam on the top for Skype and conference calls, in addition to noise-canceling microphones. So performance here is what you would expect from a Core i7 processor, as well as a pretty top-of-the-line laptop, which is to say it's fast. After it boots up initially, you wait a few seconds for things to kind of stop in terms of getting the software from security and so on and so forth set up. So not as fast in terms of a boot than Windows 8 or Windows 10, but that's typical here. Otherwise, multitasking as well as streaming video content, doing even some maybe gameplay is all pretty fast and responsive. Anyways, guys, this has been a quick video first look and a tour of the hardware for the Dell Precision mobile workstation M4800. Thanks for watching here at OS Review.